Good morning and welcome to our third and final Here Maps webinar for 2020. Thank you all for registering and joining us all on this fine morning. So previously we've looked in detail at using Here's cloud platform for asset management, logistics use cases, and also the last time out we looked at our mobile SDKs. Today we're going to be focusing on Here's data products. These are all available for download for self-hosting. So we have quite a few speakers today, so I think we should jump straight into it. So Sean Baker, myself, here Business Development Manager at Grey Matter. I'm joined by Tom, who's Product Portfolio Manager, Brian, who's also a Product Portfolio Manager, and also Sergey, who's the same. So just a few housekeeping matters. As we move through the presentation, please just put your questions in the question pane on the GoTo software, and we will get through to all of your questions at the end in the Q&A session. And also you can find the links to our poll, which will be at the end of the presentation. So quick overview of the agenda this morning. So we'll introduce it and then we'll go into Tom, who's going to be looking at Here's data acquisition piece, showing where all the data feeds in to the products, which will then be focusing in the second and third presentation. So we've got Brian, who will be looking at the places of interest and places footprints, data products, and then finally Sergey, who'll be taking us through Here's traffic products. We'll then go into the poll and the Q&A at the end. So I'll just leave a little bit up about Grey Matter for those of you who haven't met us before. As a Here Maps distributor, we'll be able to provide full guidance on any of the products discussed today. We also offered full evaluations and consultations, and we can help you become a Here data partner under their partner program. So I would just like to hand over to Tom for the first of the morning's presentations.
Thank you very much. So let me share my screen from my end. That is this one, show my screen. If you can quickly confirm that you see the screen.
We see it, Tom, yes.
Great, thank you very much. So I will be explaining you a little bit more about the process of how we are creating our maps and what types of data is actually being used to create and maintain these products. You will see some links also to the stories that Brian and Sergey will present, because multiple data streams can be used for multiple products. So this circle represents the process of making a map and keeping the map up to date, where at a certain moment in time, we start at the top, there is a certain reality. And over the course of time, of course, changes are taking place in reality. And you can think of a new road that's being built, speed limit that's changing, maybe there is a new restaurant that's opening somewhere. And this, of course, has to be captured into our products, and then, of course, making sure that we deliver that via the different channels, so that you can also utilize this data, of course, for the use cases that you have. So this change in reality is represented somewhere here, where proactively, so before the change is taking place, we have means of understanding what will happen in the future. So that can be via third-party data sources or monitoring the media. But there's also ways of detecting changes once they took place in reality already. So there are several buckets that are shown here, where I will be showing you a more detailed information about probe data, which is GPS data points that are coming from vehicles, from apps, from tracking devices, etc., that are providing us with information about the speed, the direction, and of course the time when this information was recorded. We have access to sensor data, so this is from vehicles that have sensors integrated, and this data is available to us, which can of course also be used to verify if something has changed. There is of course again third-party data, so source providers, free data, open data, but also paid data, of course, that we're utilizing to understand what is happening where, so that we can actually process the changes out of these into our database. We're using expert communities. So this can be customers, can be consumers, can be student groups, tourist boards, etc., who are providing us with input about changes that are taking place around them in reality, or items that they are aware of that will be changing. They provide input. We're performing again media monitoring, so think of social media, news articles, etc., that we are crawling to understand what's actually happening. We're using satellite photos. Based on satellite photos, you can identify, for instance, new roads or new buildings, things that are being reconstructed. Then there is a bucket for crowdsourced street level imagery. So this is about photos that are taken via different apps that we have access to, so that we can actually see how reality looked like on a street level level. And then we have our own true drives, as they are called. So this is our own collection fleet with cameras, a lot of different sensors that we also send out to verify certain locations and to capture changes there in reality. So after we know what has been changing in reality, that's this piece, we of course are then extracting all the information of what is actually needed to be updated or to be added or to be deleted from the products that we have. And that's what we call the phase extract, because you can imagine if we get a list of from a certain brand of all their locations, then the far majority of these locations are already in the product, and we only want to process, of course, the update. So we're extracting the deltas, as we call them, so the differences that we need to make, which we are then processing into our database, and over that we are overlaying validations, as they're called. So we are checking whether the information that is being put into the products is not violating certain rules. So as an example, if we would have a speed limit in the map in United Kingdom that states the speed limit here is 180 miles an hour, this is an error. This will never exist. So as a result, there will be a certain flag to say, well, this value cannot exist as such and needs to be reviewed before the product is actually being created. And then the last phase, after all those changes that were processed, is of course to ensure that we publish this data, so that we make this available via the different feeds in offline data and online data, APIs, etc., so that it can actually be consumed by you to ensure that you have the freshest data in order to use that for your needs. And the reason why we represent this as a circle is that, as you can imagine, the map making never stops. There is always changes that are taking place, and we constantly need to make changes to our database to ensure that we capture actually what's out there in reality. So I would like to zoom in specifically on how this works for speed limit information, where we have a product which is covering the legal speed limits. So what are you legally allowed to drive for any given road, including specific modifiers. So you can imagine there are roads where during different times the speed limit differs, or maybe during weather conditions there is a different speed limit. All that type of information is present in our map data next to advisory speed limits. So there is also advisory speed limits signposted in certain cases, or in some countries, they are part of the country law, which are then represented in our map data to ensure that this can be used for different means. So we have that data all around the world, so not only in one or two countries. More than 26 million kilometers of road we have covered with speed limits. And of course, this provides data based on the input that we had, that we saw in this circle before, right? So we are collecting this information ourselves. We have partnerships with road authorities, and we're also using probe data, which I promised I will show you a bit more in detail on how that actually looks and how we can actually utilize that. So before I will go there, first I'd like to quickly address some use cases for automotive, but also on the next slides for non-automotive use cases, specifically for speed limits. So besides, of course, showing what the speed limit is, which helps to increase the safety, to be aware of what your speed limit is, and of course also to reduce stress when you're driving somewhere, like, well, how fast can I drive? Am I not over speeding? Am I not risking to get a ticket? This information is also used for automated cruise control, so that the car can accelerate or decelerate, knowing what is ahead of the vehicle. So before actually a camera, for instance, can already see the sign. It's very useful to calculate your estimated time of arrival. It helps to optimize your routing, of course. And in cases when there is, for instance, heavy traffic or there is very bad weather, then it can also help in providing the speed limit information if the camera in the car cannot actually see it itself. If you look at what we call enterprise or non-automotive use cases, then of course the estimated time of arrival aspect is a very important one as well. That can be fueled by this information, right? If you know how fast legally you're allowed to drive, then you can use that information to calculate what time you can make it at the earliest at your destination. Of course, you also need traffic information, and Sergey will talk about that later on, because that's a crucial component as well for your estimated time of arrival. It helps in optimally calculating the route by having such type of information, so speed limit information. It assists you in understanding, out of the different varieties of routes, like what will be the most optimal one in terms of the speed that a vehicle can drive there, and that can differ for a car versus a truck, as an example. And you can use the same information in terms of driver analytics, which, for instance, can be used for user-based insurance, but also for post-trip analysis to analyze, like, okay, so at a certain situation or a certain location, what was the speed that someone was actually driving versus what was allowed to be driven. And based on that, insurance, for instance, could charge different fees, or in the other way, to have a pricing model for pay as you drive, for instance, or pay how you drive, based on how many over speeding situations you had. You need to pay a fine or a penalty on top of your insurance fee, for instance. So then concrete looking into this probe data. So I zoomed in here on London, but I could theoretically zoom in, of course, everywhere. Which is showing here 1 day of data in terms of these probe points. So again, probe points are data points, GPS data points with a location, a timestamp, a speed, and a direction, so a heading. And if you plot that on a map, you can see, during 1 day or during a shorter time frame of the day, where people have been moving with what speed. And this, of course, is very valuable information to understand speed limits, but also later on, Sergey will talk about that, traffic patterns, etc. And this can, of course, be very beneficial in terms of detecting also if there are changes in the patterns of speed, and as a result, the need to make an update to the map data. So if I zoom out a little bit, so this is still London, but zoomed out, and then looking into, like, okay, if we again take 1 day, how many points do we then see? And then, of course, there is a difference between, major roads where there is more data available than residential roads where overall less vehicles are driving anyway, right? So with that information, we can also, besides deriving, what's the speed that vehicles are driving, we can also derive volumes of traffic, which can then be used to understand also, what are the main roads that vehicles are using, what are the less important roads, and then use that to optimize the modeling in the database. in order to, in the end, have a good representation of the road network with the different speeds to optimize routing, estimated time of arrival calculation, etc. So if I zoom out even further and I look at the average speed data, then you can clearly see, if you zoom out far enough, you know, that certain roads have, of course, a higher speed than others, right? So there's the ring around London. There the speed is higher, you can see based on the different colors, than, for instance, in the center of London. So this is very valuable information, of course, which is applied on every road information to understand also, you know, if you have a longer route, you know, you should not be guided, let's say, through London. It's an obvious one, of course, but even though maybe something is shorter in distance, so this information is crucial to also utilize in optimizing the route. One thing to note is you can see here in the sea, so there is also GPS data points there. This could, for instance, be from container ships where there are tracking devices installed, and then we might have a contract with this provider to receive this information. So we cannot, in every case, automatically say, okay, let's use the probe data and just apply, you know, new roads or updated speed limits automatically based on that, because that would mean that we would be creating roads inside the sea next to the ferry roads that we already have. Well, it's not a road, but the ferry route, I should say, that we have already in the map data. But it helps, of course, a lot in understanding the different traffic streams and the speed that is actually applicable in reality on these roads. And then as my last slide before I go to the takeaways, we also have a tool which is called Map Creator, which shows all the speed limits for every road where we have a speed limit. And this is also editable by users. Of course, we validate the changes that are being made, but this is used by a lot of our users, customers, consumers to also verify and provide input to us in terms of where should we potentially make changes into the map. And let me reiterate again, we are validating those changes. So it will not be that someone goes to this tool and then makes everything 130 kilometers an hour or maybe 70 miles an hour. And then we just say, okay, let's just blindly believe that. But it's a great way to visualize what is available and also to provide input. So moving to my last slide, specifically for the speed limits. So we have this very detailed representation for every road segment, which is of course crucial to accurately calculate the estimated time of arrival, but also if you want to perform post-trip analysis, that you have this per road segment accurately mapped within a map database. As mentioned, we have these available around the world. So within Europe, we have full coverage. Outside Europe, in the main markets, we also have that. And it's a standardized single solution. So for every country where we have this data, the data format is the same, which also allows, you know, if you're operating in multiple countries, to use the data in the same way for multiple countries without modifying this on your end specifically for the needs in a different market. And then last but not least, so I showed the probe data, but we have a whole variety of information in terms of the way how we ensure quality. And this probe data, of course, is one of them, which I wanted to show in this specific webinar. So let me end here. If there are questions, we can address them probably at the end, and then Brian can continue the presentation to talk about places.
Thank you, Tom. Can you see my screen and can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. So I will talk a little bit more about two products that we also have called Places and Footprints, which are additional layers upon the app, upon the map, which Tom already talked about. And I also want to talk a little bit about what you can do with these components next to just showing on the map. So we also have visualization tools where you can do analytics, and I will give you some examples of that. And for those who don't know what the Places product is all about, it's our product where we show all the point of interest that are around us and digitalized on the map. And what I now want to share with you is how we create these places. So here you see a slide where showing the end-to-end process of how we build our different products offline and online. On the left side, you see all the different sources that we use for ingesting in our database. So we have our here owned content. On the one hand, it's let's say the content that we get via our here true drives, but on the other hand, we also have teams in the different countries, let's say boots on the ground, to really search for changes and to search for new content, and that's what we then process ourselves. Next to that, of course, we get also from many different sources business listings, where in a certain area or region or country we get just this with all the different activities on businesses, commercial businesses that are out there. We also have contact with brands, with chains, where we directly get their information because they also want to be represented digitally in the right way. And moreover, and therefore I'm represented the EMEA region. We're also looking everywhere in Europe, for instance, for local and niche sources to really ensure that we have the latest and greatest information available in our POI content. We also utilize communities, enthusiasts that are part of our different campaigns throughout the year to, for instance, look for close businesses. So we give them some assignments in a certain region to or area or city to ask, okay, we have certain POIs where we have signals that maybe indicate that these businesses are closed. Can you validate that? And if so, can you, for instance, use the map creator tool to update the POI or remove it if it's really closed? Next to that, we also get free, but also we pay for it from CEOs, so search engine optimizers that really are getting paid by other brands or other companies to be represented in the correct way digitally. So we also utilize these data streams to enrich our data. Social media is also used, so but more as a signal. So basically, you can imagine if there is a lot of activity on, I don't know, different social media streams in certain category or certain hotspot, then for us that can also mean that a certain POI is new or is changed ownership or changed brand. For instance, a restaurant can change, and therefore a lot of people are exposing their happiness, or they say, hey, you can eat here good, or do their ratings and reviews online, and based on that we can also then use that as a signal that something has changed, and therefore we can then also update this particular POI. In a similar fashion, we also utilize financial transaction indicators. So basically we buy anonymous, of course, data that gives us insight whether there's still financial activity in certain areas for certain POIs, and that also gives us then at least a signal that there is still activity going on at that place. And then together with, of course, the other sources, we can establish the correctness and the freshness of the POI. And lastly, what we also do in-house is web scraping. So we also have the cars outside driving around, but we also have, let's say, our people crawling the World Wide Web, and basically looking for all the changes and new POIs that are interested and valid for our products. And based on that, we also create, let's say, their inputs together with the other data streams to ingest in our database. But when we have everything in our database, you can also imagine that all these different data sources are set up differently. So we need to first clean the data. We need to normalize everything so we really can compare everything. After we create the normalization for a certain place record, we give an XY, so we geocode the data, so that we also can easily match all the different data points that we create, and also can easily eliminate the duplications that we have received. We do that, of course, with our algorithms. Sometimes we do it manually, depending on, let's say, the correctness and confidence that we have for a certain place record. If we have done that, then we will blend all the different sources that are normalized, that have a XY, and then we create, let's say, a super record, a super place record. And depending on, let's say, the confidence that we have, we also give a quality scoring to this POI. So depending on the use case, you can say, okay, I only want to use the top rated POIs for my product, or maybe for certain use cases, if the scoring is a little bit lower, and that can mean that, for instance, a part of the attribution is missing, for instance, the telephone number. But for a use case like going from A to B, that's not that relevant. I still want to have that data part of my proposition, because I want to have full coverage in a certain area. So that is all you can decide. And based on that, we build, let's say, our total database, and we build and extract then all the different products that we create. And this data is then available 24/7. We have portals where you can download, depending on your needs, the data. You can slice and dice it across the different regions, whether on city level, whether on country level, or other levels. But also depending on your need. For instance, we have more than 400 categories to choose from. If you only are interested in banks or only shopping malls, then you can also extract this particular data from our portals. And it's available, or it's updated continuously. But let's say on our high priority updates are within 1 day available as new content. So overall, we have more than 100 million places available globally. And we, like I said, we have global coverage. You can really get everything what's been digitalized available through our products. The other product that we have is Places Footprint. So basically what it is, that if you, for instance, want to search for a POI, in this case, for instance, a coffee shop, we not only can give you the precise location of that business together with the address and other attributes, but we can also give you the association with, let's say, the physical boundaries, in this case, of course, the building itself. And you can imagine that that will give you more insight on the location of this coffee shop, and therefore it's easier for you to navigate or to orientate where you need to go. And you can also imagine that there could be multiple POIs in a certain building, and therefore with, let's say, these physical boundaries shown, the footprints, it's easier for you to navigate on that. Now I want to show you some visualizations of our places, our POIs. In this case, you can see on the map Germany and all the more than 9 million POIs that we have for that country. But you can also see that we can show you all the different chains in that area. And also we can zoom into, for instance, the different categories. But you can also see that we have, of course, the different counts of the different categories. So you can really see, okay, how does, for instance, restaurants compare to financial and insurance companies, and then you can make your own analytics on that. You can also imagine that for certain use cases like a real estate agent, he or she wants to know, for instance, hey, what are the different supermarket or supermarkets or grocery stores in this area to design his new project and to ensure that he knows where to put the newest supermarket. So I can give you now, for instance, now I show you first the footprint, so associated with the POIs, where you can see that we have less coverage of the footprints, but the most important ones in the bigger cities and the bigger areas we have covered, and we're extending more and more the footprints together with the POIs. Now, coming back to the example of this real estate agent, here I show you now all the different supermarkets of a certain brand, in this case Rewe, across Germany, and you can see that we have more than 5,000 supermarkets in our database. And if you then also couple that to the footprints, then you see we have covered roughly half of that. And if you then want to know, for instance, okay, how does this brand compare to others, then you can see that we now have shown here, for instance, the Rewe supermarket chain together with the Edeka supermarket chain, and then you can really make your own analytics on, okay, where are more Edekas versus Rewe, and then you can, for instance, see that there are more Rewe supermarkets in the west side of Germany, and there are more Edeka supermarkets in the southern part of Germany. But you also see that there is in the northern part or northeastern part less coverage of both supermarkets. So basically, what you can say as a real estate agent or as a project developer, maybe there we can utilize some areas for development of new supermarkets. But there are multiple other use cases also for advertisement or other use cases to utilize this data. I also want to conclude with some key takeaways. So basically, what we try to do with our Places product is to really create a digital representation of what's around you, and for all the POIs that are relevant, we want to have that included in our products. And like I also stated, we want to have this data available for you in any way you want to have it. So it's offline available, it's online available. You can have it whenever you want it, and also in what kind of format that you like. And of course, we try to be as fresh as possible, meaning that we want to have all the different changes that are happening today, tomorrow in our database available for you to utilize. And with that, I want to conclude my presentation on places and footprints, and want to give the word to Sergey, who will talk more about traffic.
Hello, good morning. Let me present another important component of Here product portfolio, which is Here traffic. What is Here traffic? Here traffic contains two main components. First, real-time traffic, which is flow and incident overview, and historical traffic. Let me quickly go through a couple of slides related to real-time traffic, because our today main purpose will be historical traffic. Real-time traffic is contains also two main components. First of all, it's a traffic flow, which contains speed and congestions. It's possible to visualize this data using different level, green, yellow, or red, and special precisions. Then this flow also contains traffic incidents, which are closures, roadworks, and warnings. Warnings like car accidents, ghost drivers, and other many warnings. What is our advantage is that we offer various delivery methods of real-time traffic. It's client-connected, server-connected, broadcast, traffic API, and platform. And now let's move to historical traffic data. We offer two main pieces, two main components of historical traffic. First of all, traffic patterns product. It's a database with typical traffic speed by time of a day and day of a week. And primary use cases are estimated time of arrival, routing, predictive routing, planning, urban planning, and safety. This year, taking into consideration situation with COVID and COVID-related issues we prepared special release for our customers, which we call COVID release. And we also offer traffic patterns standard release. What are key differences between standard release and COVID release? Relatively, it's almost same product, but traffic pattern product prepared based on for COVID release. This product created based on fresher data. We use data from May till September in order to reflect all road situations which happened during this time frame. But as you understand, traffic situation is very fluid, and our recommendation will follow which product would be better to use after the COVID, because we understand that current situation with traffic absolutely different to what we had last several years. And another important product here, traffic analytics, also based on historical data. It's a web tool which you could use to order traffic historical data for any roads, for any functional classes, for any time, and for some certain areas. Advantages in comparison with traffic patterns is that it's a more granular product, and you can select from 5 minutes resolution to 16 minutes resolution, while traffic patterns offers only 15 and 60 minutes. More output data, and if you need data, fresh data for your purposes to reflect traffic situation, historical traffic situation, in some use cases it's better to use traffic analytics output. How it looks like? It looks like tables based on link IDs or TMC codes, and contains several fields with different information, but primary information definitely average speed, and we offer it in this product also definitely. Key differences between traffic patterns and traffic analytics. Both we offer in CSV format. Traffic patterns, it's possible to download from here server, but traffic analytics, it's a web tool to generate samples, and then you can upload it from our server also. Both of them we offer as TMC based and link based. Traffic patterns, usually we deliver twice per year, update twice per year for TMC and quarterly for link based. And traffic analytics is more fresh product, which we offer with freshness is about 48 hours. As I already said, resolution for traffic patterns 15 and 60 minutes, but for traffic analytics we offer 5, 15 and 60 minutes. And coverage 57 countries, and for traffic analytics only certain areas within certain countries. How we can recommend to use our traffic products? I would like to present several use cases. First example, green delivery. We all should think and we all should work on how to reduce carbon footprint. And using here historical data, it's possible to predict estimated time of arrival, estimated time predictive routing, to understand what would be the best time to reduce delivery time. For example, from city A to city B through heavy congestions, heavy traffic jams, and spend about 2 hours, or maybe it's better to deliver these goods tomorrow from city A to city B and spend only about 25 minutes. And definitely this planning should help significantly reduce carbon footprints. Another example, here in this slide, application example of web application which could be created based on here solution. Another example, urban safety. We know that more and more people are moving to big cities, and urban safety became very critical point. And using traffic historical data, it's possible to analyze driver's behavior. And this example demonstrates that at some stretches, at some city, analytics realize that we have always above average speed limit driving, and definitely officials or companies, they should understand what are the reasons of this behavior, how critical it for local people, even worst case scenario, if there are some schools nearby. Definitely it's a point to think and make some appropriate decision for officials. Another example, urban planning. Using here traffic historical data, it's possible to create congestion profile for any stretch of the road in this or that certain city. This example, analytics prepared congestion profile for road stage A and road stage B, and realized that the majority of business day, these roads are absolutely busy, completely busy. Congestion severity close to 100% during main hours of business day. What we need? We need definitely to build this new road in order to decrease traffic jams, reduce congestions. And it's possible to use modeling, to use simulation, and predict what will be expected traffic on this road stretch. On these examples, we see that the desirable case to reduce almost by 50% traffic jams during business hours. And definitely it should significantly improve efficiency of delivery businesses and all other government-related businesses. How we build our traffic. Primary source for our traffic, both real-time and historical traffic, is prop data, which were well described by Tom in his presentation, how it looks like and why it's important. Then we also use sensor data from modern cars. Traffic pattern also one of input for the product, incident sources and crowdsourcing. Then step of processing of this data. And for real traffic, we process this data in almost real-time mode. For historical data, we have more time, and we have more time to process this data. We use machine learning, we use congestion detection algorithm, data filtering, map matching in order to provide full alignment with all other here products like map, like places, which described by Olivier, Brian, and other here products. Delivery methods, we deliver after data processed, we deliver traffic patterns, traffic analytic, different connected traffic services, and broadcast traffic via different channels. And if you think already did expansion of your business in other regions, in other countries, we would like to demonstrate current coverage. Real-time traffic we offer in 64 countries. We cover all key countries in the world. For real-time traffic, it means that you can build reliable solution based on real-time traffic in majority of markets. Same situation with incidents. For real-time traffic and historical traffic, traffic patterns, traffic analytics, we offer in 57 countries. It also means that based on here historical traffic, you can build a reliable solution for majority of global markets. Key takeaways for here traffic product. First of all, comprehensive. Here offers unique set of traffic products. It's a real-time traffic, traffic patterns, and traffic analytic. Here, historical traffic is reliable product with multiple use cases across different industries. Integration. Here, traffic products are closely integrated with other here services, map and content products. And number 3, coverage. Here, traffic products cover all key countries in the world, and it allows to create global solution. And I would like, and that's it about here traffic product. I would like to hand over to Sean.
Thank you very much, Sergey. So yeah, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your very interesting presentations. There was a lot there, I think. Just to call back on something that Tom said, Grey Matter does have a map creator community. So if anybody is interested in contributing to the map editing, improving the data, then yeah, please speak with us. You can discuss it with our team. And yeah, by becoming a member of the Grey Matter map creator community, your edits will actually have a higher priority. So it helps you get your edits straight back onto the platform. Anything that's updated onto the here platform will then get fed into the data. And with the appropriate contract in place, you will have access to the freshest data always. So you can go in, pull that data at any point and update your applications and services. Yeah, also just seeing some of the speed probes in real time is really, really interesting. There's obviously billions of data points now as we move towards smart cities and cars that are very much connected. So that was all really, really fascinating. And I know also the COVID traffic patterns product as well was particularly interesting. I know that a lot of our inquiries are coming through and customers are looking to do analysis of their own as well, because we do recognize that the conditions out there are really rapidly changing due to COVID, even if we are maybe moving towards the vaccine. People's lifestyles are changing, the traveling patterns are different, and yeah, you can do a lot with these projects, find out a lot more insights and hopefully plan for the future. So I've just tried to summarize the free talks that we've listened to today. So we've certainly seen that here maintains a live picture of real-time conditions on the roads, and that's what starts to feed into its content products. It maintains a database of places and information that's constantly being updated and validated, and it has a schema, so it sorts all of that stuff into categories, so you can really do a powerful query. You can find all of the supermarkets in Germany, for example, or lots of many different examples, and with the places footprint data, you can really see the actual boundary for these places, which is really, really important for correct geospatial analysis. And certainly Sergey's traffic products, really, really interesting. We can see that if you can look at those traffic conditions, you can make truly informed business decisions, which is really, really powerful. And of course, all of these products are designed to integrate with each other. So if you're using the cloud APIs, not a problem. You can go ahead and get some data, and it'll reinforce. It'll add some extra depth to the cloud experience that you're already having. And yeah, if you've bought any other content products, it might be time to update those. Maybe you've got some sort of out-of-date maps or out-of-date information. You can bring them in, and they're all designed to integrate and complement each other quite nicely. So yeah, so I just want to move us into a short poll, if I may. We're very interested in finding out what sort of projects and services you might have in mind for making use of here data. So I'll just start the poll up. If everybody could vote, that'd be fab. Okay, I'll just give you another 5 seconds, see if we can get some votes in. I think we're already seeing a key leader here that's given us a good example, although we recognize here data is quite varied and there's lots of different ways of making use. Perfect. Cool. Thank you everybody for voting. So we can now share with you these results. And we see that GIS analysis is leading the way, which is perhaps what we would expect. So a lot of the licensing is geared towards GIS use cases, and geo-marketing is certainly something we see off the back of that as well. And then actually there's a split between the next 4. So yeah, these are the kind of use cases that we see our customers doing. You can manage your fleets, asset management, logistics, all of that stuff using the Here data. Marketing, as I mentioned there, geo-marketing is a special license available for people buying data for marketing purposes. We've got historical speed analysis, which is you cover traffic products, etc., and also address validation. So we have customers that are taking those address database and using that to build in maybe also complete for customer orders, or maybe you've got a database of customer addresses and you're looking to sanitize and standardize that data, so it's all the same format. So yeah, thank you very much everybody for taking part in today's poll. That's really appreciated. Okay, so we have a question. You've all been very quiet, so there's only the one question today. So yeah, so I've got a question. Do you cover pedestrian traffic or cycling traffic? So yeah, one for the guys.
Yeah, let me answer. Yeah, not now, but we think about it, and maybe in next 1 to 2 years it will be launched. But we're thinking and we are working on it.
Fantastic. No, that's really interesting, Sergey. I mean, we do get inquiries as the sort of mobility landscape changes, and you've got urban scooters, more people cycling. I know that there's a massive drive at the moment to get people using cycle lanes. Also, I've seen it in my hometown with the increased presence of delivery vehicles on the road, bikes delivering food. You then have to build in bicycle lanes in the city area. So yeah, we know that customers are asking these questions and they're looking for new algorithms and new data points to help with these decisions. So that's really interesting. Another question comes in here. What do you see is the consumer willingness to pay for location data? How does this vary by customer segments? Anybody got any thoughts on that, gentlemen, or should I jump in?
Yeah, maybe you can add on to how you see that. So consumers, of course, using different map data for different reasons, of course, have a different willingness, right? So if we look into like normal navigation, more and more, it's getting more common, I would say, that when you buy a vehicle, that for a few years there is what is called like map care, right? So that you get like free updates, because the willingness to pay for an updated map in a car navigation system as such is not as big as in that sense in the past. Of course, it's a different story when you talk about having data in an app. Nowadays, more and more consumers are used to free apps, having free access to basic functionality. But then there is a willingness to pay for premium features, right? So think of, you can have basic navigation in an app, then maybe for free or for a very low fee, and then paying, as an example, for instance, for getting safety camera data. So the trends are in that sense definitely changing, at least what we see on the consumer side. But of course, the consumer segment, let's say, is huge, right? So depending on what consumers are using the data for, there is a different willingness to pay, and also a willingness of how much they are willing to pay as such. So I don't know, Sean, if you want to add something from your perspective to this as well.
Yeah. I mean, certainly I can see that it's tough. Certainly there is location data being made available free for consumers, but certainly in terms of grey matter, we're mainly dealing with business partners, right, that have projects that require this sort of data, and there's an obvious market value. They're building platforms for their solution, for their partners. They're doing data analysis projects, and for those projects, they can see that the data is invaluable. But it's a lot different for consumers. I have a lot of partners that will put together different options, and it might be for some customers they have a very low budget mapping solution, but for those that are interested and need more information, let's bolster it with the here data. So it can vary. It's an interesting picture, but certainly we do see consumer trends have changed. But yeah, businesses often they see the value and they buy the data. So sort of a few more questions here. We've got do you offer road closures, road closure information as part of the historical traffic?
No, because road closures are part of only real-time traffic.
So at the moment, they can't get the historical road closure information, but you can see the road closures in real time.
Road closures are also long-term road closures are also part of map, and it's possible to identify and find this information within map layer. Short term, we mainly reflect in real-time traffic layer, and not in historical traffic.
Perfect. No, that's fantastic. So what are the techniques that you've adopted for measuring traffic flow?
On a slide which I demonstrated already, prop data is definitely our primary source and major source for measurement, and another important source which is growing now, sensor data from cars. It's mainly video footages, and we also started to use this information. Prop and sensors, therefore, will be answer.
Perfect. Yeah, the example I'm familiar with is the braking sensors, right? If you detect hard braking events, then you can detect congestion a lot faster than the old radio network method.
Exactly.
So perfect. No, that's great. I think this question refers back to the map creation part, right? So I've got a question here. How long does it take before a change can get added to the map?
Yeah, so this is a question that I can take an answer for an hour, but I'll try to do it short. So in principle, it depends initially about what's the type of change, right? So you can imagine that, for instance, if there is a maybe a residential road where a one-way is changing, this change is more easily reflected than, for instance, a whole new ring road that's being built around the city, which needs to be implemented. But in principle, after we have detected, so either proactively know that something is coming, or after it has changed, we are detecting the fact that there was a change in reality. We process that on a daily basis. So we are not, putting items, let's say, on the shelf to say, okay, we only do a certain information only once a year or whatever. We process this immediately. And that means that depending on the publication channel that you're using, so if you're using offline data or online data via APIs or via the platform, etc., the time might differ. But in principle, it means that once we have processed it, on our end, it's immediately available for consumption via our different product flavors. And then, of course, depending on the contract that you will have with Grey Matter and the format that you're using, it might take longer or shorter. But in principle, as soon as we're aware, we process it immediately. And that means that after the processing is done, so we, let's say, click on save, it's available externally as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're all seeing partners contributing on Map Creator, putting new speed limits in. We've got customers that are driving trucks and they're constantly keeping those truck attributes corrected. So yeah, it's really key that people see that they get their updates on the map eventually, but not too quickly. because they need to be validated. So yeah, that's all clear. Thank you very much for that. I think I'm going to do one more question before we close for today. So we have a question: do you sell raw traffic data? There's another part of the question for you. What part of value comes from selling raw data versus selling finished products and services? I think, yeah, so they mean something like traffic analytics or real-time traffic.
Yeah, we have now offer prop as a product, but this conception is still in development mode, and it will be pretty widely announced, I believe, pretty soon. Yeah, it not now, but pretty soon. Prop as a product.
Probe as a product, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that somebody asked that question, because that saves me asking the question, what's coming out soon and what you can tease the audience with. So yeah, now we have that bit of information. That's fantastic. Perfect. Okay, well, that brings us to a close today. So I'd just like to say thank you everybody for joining. Enjoy the holidays, and if you want to discuss the use case or evaluate any of the here data products we've covered in the webinar, or perhaps there's something we haven't covered and you'd like to discuss, please contact the dedicated here team at Grey Matter. Our contact information is on the screen. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.